Hello and welcome to the most excellent 80s movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker, a comedian, and a writer return to the 80s movies we think we loved or love to hate to find an electroshock waiting when those movies aren't quite how we remember them. Like, maybe they're way, way, way more scary and full of headless people and people who are only heads, and every single terrifying fantasy world thing is actually far, far, far less terrifying than the real world counterparts of those things. And this one's going to be a doozy. This is Return to Oz, a movie selection from 1985.
This summer, Walt Disney Pictures presents a motion picture fantasy adventure beyond your fondest imagination. You'll be transported miraculously back to the enchanted land of Oz, that magical kingdom beloved by young and old for generations.
It's just a yellow brick.
No, Belina, you don't understand. This was the yellow brick road.
You'll share with Dorothy Gale the shock of finding everything mysteriously changed.
What's happened to everybody?
And you'll delight with her discovery of 4 wonderful new friends who band together against a wicked queen and the dreaded Gnome King. This is the Oz you haven't seen before, and this is the Oz you'll want to visit again and again. From Walt Disney Pictures comes a whole new world of entertainment.
Why don't we just fly back to Kansas?
Return to Oz.
I miss the voiceover guys.
I do think that that's so unusual when you do see a trailer that's just a guy telling you what you're going to experience.
You'll be so excited to see Thor and Captain America again together.
Well, Nathan, just a suggestion, like, people might be excited to see something that had that, like, look and feel. You know, like, cut a trailer of Voyage Trekkers and someone just being like, in a world where the worst crew in the galaxy is up to adventures.
Prepare to be delighted, surprised, and ashamed.
Prepare to hear how many adjectives I can name in a row. Delighted.
What's that, Dr. Rena? You're fed up?
The wackiest crew in the galaxy.
It's here to entertain you. Yeah, I do think that's a very weird way to do the trailer. But for this movie, it's probably better than
well, that went on for
that
went on for decades.
Yeah.
It's like thrilling adventures and seeing these exact moments, and it's not until recently has it become have movie trailers become a little more montagey
and Disney even had their own voice. Like they had a guy who did all of their stuff. I can't remember his name right now. Yeah, the Don LaFontaine is the In a World guy, but there was that this summer coming from Walt Disney Pictures. Like there was that guy who did all of their ads, all their video ads, everything.
His voice is burned into all of
our
exactly.
brains.
We don't know his name.
Right, we don't know his name, but we know that voice. If you hear it again.
Well, that voice, the one that you're hearing right now, is Kyle Olson, our guest for today. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about all of the many amazing things that you do.
Sure. I'm a podcaster as well. So I do a podcast called The Road to Infinity, which is a Marvel movies podcast. We started it right before Infinity War, where we watched a Marvel movie a week in anticipation of Infinity War coming out. And after it came out, we were having so much fun, we just kept on going.
Yeah.
So now we've actually
talking about fictitious upcoming Marvel movies.
Yes, exactly. Right? So I'm doing instant nostalgia, where you guys are doing way back nostalgia.
Yeah.
So like so we're now getting into news and stuff too. So we're going to be, as opposed to waiting for the movies to come out, we're going to be talking about Marvel news and information and the shows and Netflix and all that stuff.
Awesome. Cool. And, of course, always with us is Nathan Blackwell.
Oh, hi there. Hey. I didn't see you there.
And I'm Chrissy Lenz, comedian, and we're going to talk about Return to Oz. My goodness.
Yeah, this was my pick.
My goodness. Yes, it was.
What have you done to us?
So what is your, experience with the movie?
This is one of the ones I saw when it originally came out. So, I was 10 when it came out, and it was one of the things. It was the new Disney movie. It was, it was Oz. It was exciting, and went to see it, and I loved it from the first time I saw it. Like, we're going to talk, I'm sure, about all the trauma and the nightmares and all that kind of stuff, but like, I think it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite movies since that moment. I'm curious what your guys' history with Wizard of Oz is. Like, how were at this period? Like, when you're like, what was your feelings and what was your history with the Wizard of Oz, the original 1939?
I think I'd seen it a lot as a kid. It's a very easy movie to show to kids and to watch.
Oh yeah, it was one of those kind of movies. I think every kid had caught like 2 or 3, 4 or 5 times on TV. It was very TV friendly. At any time.
It was like
and your parents just love to show it to you.
Oh,
They're like, we didn't have color TV at first. Like,
and it was a holiday tradition. I mean, like, I think
yes.
they always would play it on TV at like Thanksgiving. I think
that sounds
about
right.
Experience too.
I think so. I definitely
before
remember
home video.
seeing it quite a bit. Yeah. And
did you like it?
I did like it.
Yeah?
I the boring black and white part aside, like, I really liked everything once there was magic. And, it's a great movie because the hero's a girl.
Yes.
So it definitely made me happy in that way. And I think I saw Return to Oz. I know I saw it as a kid.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing it in the theater.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, me too.
I don't think that I did, but I think we rented it. Yeah, because there was like one of those things where it was like everything was familiar, but not so familiar that I knew what was going to happen next. It was just like vague impressions of like, oh right, the moose head thing. Oh right, the ornament room, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the attic where the moose head is. I remember that specifically, just kind of like coming. It's like a 9-year-old, like going to the bathroom and coming back. I was like, what is going on with this movie?
This would be a tough movie.
It's taken me a lot of strange places.
Yeah.
I mean, so this movie was directed by Walter Murch, the sound designer, editor extraordinaire. He really kind of coined really the term sound designer, like on Apocalypse Now. But he was really kind of George Lucas's guy.
Yeah, he was in with that group, George and Steven Spielberg and Brian De Palma, like that whole Francis Ford Coppola.
And who did the puppetry?
Jim Henson Productions. So, I don't think Jim Henson was directly involved, but I think because he was doing other things.
Brian Henson was actually Jack Pumpkinhead.
Yeah. So
really?
Yeah. Yeah, and all the animation, the stop motion animation was Will Vinton, who was from the California Raisins. Like that guy, like he was.
I remember those,
right? Yeah, he was like the stop motion guy, and so he's the one who did all this. So all the gnomes, all that stuff, that was all Will Vinton's team doing that. So it's like it really is a powerhouse team in terms of coming together, and yet it didn't help.
It was really kind of a no-win scenario because the original intent was to make a movie that was not necessarily a direct sequel.
No.
Of the original movie.
Right.
It was more of a continuation
of the book.
of the books.
Yes.
And so it's more of the style and the feel, but it was kind of like walking into a buzzsaw because everyone knows it from the movie is so iconic.
Yes.
In fact, like if you probably polled 5 movies at that point, what are the most iconic movies? Wizard of Oz is going to be on everyone's list.
Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind. These
And
are
so,
the movies everyone has seen.
And so to kind of go and not include some of the conventions,
No songs.
it was just a touch. It was just a kind of a no-win scenario in terms of the choice of that approach of not doing a direct sequel of the movie,
and calling it Return to Oz. You know that way, like you basically are saying, like you loved this, you're gonna love that too.
They
it's like,
literally say that in the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, we're taking you back to the land of Oz. And it's like, no, you're really not.
And the trailer doesn't. The movie itself. With the original movie, there's a ton of like magic and joy, and in this, there's just so much trauma.
Yes.
But I mean, there was tons of that in the Wizard of Oz movie, the first one. There was, I mean, so many people, myself included, had nightmares just on some of the imagery of like
Flying monkeys,
the poppy fields, the witches,
the trees.
Just some
little people opening a door inside another door, going,
like
nobody gets to see the wizard.
Yeah, it's like the feet underneath the house.
Yeah. Yes, and so I do, but I get it. I get the want to make a movie that is closer to the book when the first movie that's made is not like the book. Kind of like how they remade The Stand.
Yeah.
Not The Stand. What am I thinking of? The
Shining?
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
The Shining.
Yeah.
They did a
The
version of
ABC
it that was
one.
more like the book.
Toby Hooper directed that.
I get the want to do that, especially if you're a book lover. To be like, no, but Dorothy's
Now we've
supposed to
done
be-
that. We can put it in a drawer.
You have both.
Yes.
You can have your Kubrick and you can have your Toby Hooper version.
Exactly. You can have your
Toby
magical
Hooper
dancing,
can have that version.
Yes.
and we'll have our underground nightmare machine.
I think if this had been put out now, to be able to advertise it as a soft reboot or a reimagining,
Yes.
we have those terms now, and I think people would understand it. But then it was sort of like, no, it's Wizard of Oz 2. Go see Wizard of Oz 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you walk into that, and then there's electroshock
People are coming
therapy
out with
and-
blankets, like
Yeah.
just
If
shaking.
they were
and
really
holding
going to
themselves.
change it up, they should have retold the first story rather than
Yes.
continue.
and different title.
Yeah, because I mean,
Dorothy's Adventures in Oz.
yeah, I mean, it's
neutral.
Walter Murch does a great job of performance and storytelling.
Yeah.
I mean, the pace could pick up a bit. It's definitely, a bit slow in parts. The photography, especially in the in Kansas, and then also the performances, really kind of remind me of more like movies from the 70s. Like
Longer takes.
yeah, and just kind of like, but the performances are all solid.
Yes.
The
In fact,
effects hold
Fairuza
up.
Balk is like
she's
doing
great.
a Judy Garland impression.
Yeah.
Especially in the scene they show in the trailer where she's like, no, Belina, this used to be the road to Oz. It's like, she's great.
And she can work with puppets. Like that's the thing is like a lot. I mean, a young to be this good at being a young actor is one thing, but to look into the face of an animatronic chicken and like have a serious heart-to-heart conversation with it, that is a lot of skill, especially for something that young.
Oh, and to be carted off to an
insane?
electroshock
Yeah, that's right.
hospital and left behind by your Aunt Em. Like, I completely washed that part of
Oh,
the movie
not
out.
I remembered that.
Oh yes.
So say what you will about our feelings on how this movie has changed in our eyes, etc. I've probably only, I saw the movie when it came out, and maybe again on VHS, and there were still some images that I remembered. They were so memorable, probably because they were so scary, and not in a overt melodramatic way, but like in a genuine scary concept.
In a genuine, these creatures are going to rise up out of the earth and try and snatch you down to turn you into an object for the trophy room kind of
Or
way.
be chased down by the Wheelers and thrown into the desert and turned to sand.
So here's my question. So, as with the original Wizard of Oz, the question you're left asking is, was it a dream or is it real? Because everything in the real world has an Oz counterpart, like a dream would. And this one even more so, because the Wheelers are the people who are... And in case you haven't seen the movie, Dorothy is remembering Oz. She won't stop talking about Oz. So good old Auntie Em is like, well, I know the solution.
Clearly, she's crazy.
I'm going to take you to an electroshock therapist. And he is going to just zap those imaginations right out of you, you little girl.
Well, they have that tough situation of so the first story, you've got these counterparts that are basically like her frustrations, her nightmares or whatever, and then there's manifestations in this fantasy world. And so once she comes back to Oz and all the problems are solved, they need new problems and nightmares. And so now no one believes them, and she's put in an insane asylum.
Well, and she's going to get electric brain shock. And
then there's a huge storm, and then this other girl drowns.
question mark? So here's my two questions. One, do you think Oz is a real place, or is it her dreams that she's having? Because
you want to answer first?
The Wheelers are the people who push the gurneys,
Sure.
and the
doctor
witch
is the
the doctor is the Gnome King. The witch is, oh my god, the same woman from
Willow.
Frickin' Willow.
Bev Morda.
Get her out of here.
So there's a number of kind of Willow connections with this movie. A lot of people behind the scenes worked on Willow.
You can,
and
they
so
have
you
the
can
same
kind of like,
feel.
Yeah, and so you can kind of see like the early scouting for talent in terms of actors and people like that. So I would. So in a lot of ways, The Wizard of Oz and then Return to Oz and all these other kind of similar stories is about you choosing to believe in magic.
Right.
Choosing to believe. So I think they purposely ride that line of you have to decide one way or another, and so it's kind of like the message of believe in magic, believe in things that are above our common misery.
But if you want to look for a reason that it's not real, the reasons are there. Like there's room for doubt, but you can choose to believe.
Yeah, just like Total Recall.
Exactly. Or Jacob's Ladder.
Right.
What do you think?
I think it absolutely is real, especially in this one. I think you can barely see the dream thing much more in the Wizard of Oz. In Return to Oz, I think it's much more of a crosses over to another world thing, because like when the girl first appears, no one else interacts with her but Dorothy.
Right.
And even when she shows up in Dorothy's room, the door never opens and closes. Like we see when the head nurse goes in, the door opens and it squeaks and clicks and stuff too, and then suddenly there's this mysterious girl in there, and she hands her the pumpkin. They have a conversation, then she leaves, and the door's closed. It never opened and closed. So I know it's intentional by the filmmakers and stuff too, but I think it shows, and no one ever really acknowledges that other girl is there.
Or is not there.
Yeah,
then
so
later.
she's halfway between two worlds because she's stuck in the mirror world.
And that's when we first see her, is in the reflection on the window.
Right.
In the doctor's office, right? Yeah. I mean, I think it could go both ways. Like, if she's seeing real world stuff in her dream world, maybe, she's pulling Oz into the other direction. Like, she's pulling them into here. Anyway, so they take her to the mental hospital. She's going to get her little shockaroo, but she gets rescued by... we didn't even do that this time, did we? We're the worst. But so I want to do an improv scene. Okay. So you guys own an electroshock clinic. You're the doctors who are pioneering this new technology.
Electricity is the future.
And you are interviewing me to be your head nurse.
Okay.
And I really want you to need someone terrifying.
We need to terrify someone. We need to convince you to terrify someone.
Yeah. So you're what you're really looking for in a head nurse is someone who has the scariest outfit imaginable.
Sure.
The scariest face imaginable.
Well, yeah.
And a disregard for human life. That's what you're after.
Okay, ready to begin?
Yes, ready.
Oh, Tina, come on in. Have a seat.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, sure. So I'm sure you're aware of the position we're hiring today.
Yes, head nurse at your torture facility.
Correct.
Yes. Wonderful.
Your resume is fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. I have worked in several dungeons.
Good. We're looking for.
And at least 3
You studied
other...
abroad.
I did, yes, I did.
Germany, excellent.
What the Europeans are doing with
so innovative.
They're the things that they're doing to mentally unhealthy people are really next wave. That's where I got this dress.
I was about to mention the dress.
Thank you.
It's very severe.
It is, and
I'm so scared looking at it right now.
I had the shoulders actually lengthened and made pointier.
Oh.
I was like, I need the pointy ends of these shoulders to go above my ears. Don't tell me it can't be done. And here you see the results before you.
Well, here's the machine.
Oh, great. Oh, does it look like a little face? That'll be a cute thing to tell
the
children.
face.
Yeah, I've got a whole routine worked out. It's so
wonderful,
good.
Wonderful. So I won't appear until after the patients are already captured. I mean...
You're there to escort them away.
Escort, yes.
And as little a dialogue with them as possible would be good. Like, don't answer questions.
But lots of eye action.
Oh, yes, eye
withering
action,
stare.
definitely. Withering stare is very good.
I actually minored in withering stare at head nurse school.
That's excellent.
Yes. All right, we can be done.
And scene.
Okay. So then, so she escapes with the help of a mysterious young girl.
Mm-hmm.
A flood is happening. They jump in a river. And
Kansas
float
has a lot
to Oz.
of weather issues.
Yeah,
They
it
really
does.
do.
Yeah.
That's the way. It seems like that's how you get to Oz. Like, is by natural disaster.
Bad weather.
Yeah.
So, do we think Kansas is on a thin spot? You know, like it's like the two worlds are
Right.
crossing over right there, and
It's like the equivalent of a hellmouth
Yeah.
where
Yeah, that's
Dorothy
right.
lives.
High pollution advisory / Wizard of Oz gateway.
You get a little alert on your phone. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
Chance of Oz very high. Like,
Now, one of the things, like just looking into this movie, they were constantly slashing the budget, and the studio wasn't happy. They tried to fire Walter Murch. He called in on his friends, George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, to kind of help him keep his job. But there's a number of scenes and situations I feel like we're kind of missing a moment. Where there's like when she's first at Oz, there's not really much wonder. There's a little bit of a kind of a matte painting, but there's moments like that. I feel like this is where they kind of had not much budget, or this is where you kind of feel the pinch, kind of like with the Scarecrow only has like 3 faces,
yeah,
like
they
these,
just would swap them out. Never actually moves.
yeah,
But
which is a bummer.
They did a nice job of using practical locations, though. I mean, because the original Wizard of Oz movie was all shot on a soundstage. Everything.
Oh, yeah.
And this
Yeah,
one is
yeah.
almost, I'd say, probably mostly shot on real locations,
that
which really
place
shows.
with all the columns and the stairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so she gets there. She finds out her chicken is hanging out.
yeah. So Toto isn't on this adventure.
No,
The chicken is.
but lucky for us, a chicken is.
Let me say that is an amazing chicken.
It really is.
Chicken puppet.
Isn't it great? It was
Yeah.
like I was trying to figure out if it was taxidermy or like what.
I think they had an actual practical chicken and a puppet chicken, and they
Yeah.
would just swap the two out, and it would look so good you couldn't even tell from minute to minute which one it was.
Yeah, this movie is so inventive.
Yes.
Has so many great techniques. Except for me, the Wheelers, which looked like rejects from like Cats. Or
I was going to
some-
say Starlight Express.
Yeah,
Yes.
Starlight Express.
Yeah, it's from the bad version of Cirque du Soleil.
Oh yeah, like guys with heavy guy liner, and like pink and blue ribbons, and
Yeah, they look like that 80s bad guy look where it's like, oh, bad people have like neon colors all over
Right.
them.
It's like they came right
It's-
over from The Wiz.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
stopped by here, and then they went over to The Warriors after this.
yeah,
That's
it's
what
kind of
that
like
was the
that.
progression.
There was that still kind of that lingering fear of like punks.
Yeah,
know?
Yeah.
They are punks. They are circus punks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And-
yet, when people talk about being freaked out by this movie, that's the first thing they mention.
The
is being freaked out by
Wheelers.
the Wheelers.
Yeah,
I think it was
things-
that lead guy. I had his name and now I've forgotten it. But he
for
was
the
also
best.
that had the laugh. He had that fantastic laugh, and he was actually the sort of the Andy Serkis for the group. He was like their motion coach. He would like all the other performers. He's the one who taught them how to move in all the different ways. So
Yeah, you can tell. He has the look of a guy who's like, we're going to do a movement class today. Like,
everyone in your leotards, and
Everyone-
stand on your hands.
let's stretch out our instrument. And you're just like, I get it. Enough. Thank you. Yeah, so the Wheelers attack her in this city where everyone is made of stone. And
Which is so creepy. It's like
So creepy.
like the aftermath of a war at the Emerald City, and everyone is just.
and yet there's
frozen
one
in
woman
stone.
reading on a bench.
She just was like can't be bothered with whatever was going on.
Oh, the world is ending. I gotta finish this last chapter. I relate.
I will so regret it.
The other thing, weird thing about coming from that this being a direct sequel is if they're going by the books, there are no emeralds in the Emerald City.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
then
like-
the ruby slippers are like silver slippers. And,
but it's like so which one are you're going off of?
Yeah.
So,
But and yet the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Woodsman do look like the illustrations.
yes,
yeah.
in the book, and not like the more human versions of themselves from the movie.
So, I think what has to be probably the worst design of all of them has to be the Cowardly Lion, though, because clearly it's just a guy walking on all fours. Like, they didn't even try.
Well, speaking of a guy walking, so she discovers this really adorable, round little mechanical man who you have to make sure that he has 3 different clockworks. You have to wind up his thinking, you have to wind up his movement, and you have to wind up his speech.
Yes. So action, the movement is called action. But yeah. So TikTok.
My favorite character.
And I did read that character was moved by a performer in there upside down, walking the legs with his hands.
I just watch it now and just think about a guy upside down walking upstairs.
Yeah. And he's like, this is the life I chose for myself.
It's 130 degrees in this metal can.
Well, this is surely to be a cinematic classic that will be talked about for years to come. It's all worth it. It's all worth it.
The same. Oh, poor Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, said the same thing.
Oh yes. Oh.
But I tell you that effect is amazing because it's all practical. So even when I watch it, you think like, okay, this is a walking scene, so he'll be solid, like he won't be doing all this stuff. But no, as he's walking around, his arms are moving, his eyes are blinking, his head is moving, his mustache is going like. It's still amazing. 1985, and I just look at it and I go, I don't know how you guys did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great illusion.
And he's a fun character.
Yes.
He's there to help as long as he's wound up enough. Yeah.
And having a dead serious character in a fantasy thing is always fun.
He's got the greatest line in the movie, which is, I have always valued my lifelessness.
And he fights off the Wheelers by simply spinning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The power of spinning. Anyway, so they continue on, and I remember the lunch pail tree. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the part I remember, was the lunch pail tree. Because that was such a good practical effect. She pulls, like, the lunch pail down, and the inside really looks like the inside of a fruit.
Yeah.
But inside's a ham sandwich.
That's right. All wrapped and everything.
Wrapped. I loved that.
Oh, Oz.
So thoughtful. So thoughtful.
Oh, there's there's a little chocolate inside.
Oh. Don't eat that. That's the seed. You'll grow a lunchbox tree in your belly. So she hears, or like...
That's the thing. In the trailer, they mention that she meets an evil queen. But she's not evil queen. She's princess. She's Princess Mombi.
Yes.
So they say that you need to go talk to Princess Mombi to find out what happened to the Scarecrow. Because that's her quest. Is of all she sees her friends, except for the Scarecrow. So she has to go and talk to the princess.
Okay.
Oh, the princess. How bad can this be?
Yeah.
It's a princess.
And
she plays the lute.
Yeah, when we meet her, she's just like playing that lute. And I guess like that's how she whiles away the hours in a world that's full of people made of only stone.
And wheelers. I mean, how much conversation are you going to have with a wheeler?
Ugh.
That's just
They're
one
always
of
trying to
several
get you to
hobbies.
talk about movement. They're always trying to get you to do yoga. Ugh, enough wheelers.
Do you think that she has to do all this stuff for them because they don't have hands? Like, they have these elaborate coats. Does she have to sew the coats?
She has to dress them in the morning.
Exactly.
she has to like feed them. Yeah. Like, and then so she immediately go find her, and it's like, oh, okay. Did you think that the inside of her house looked like the inside of the thing in Krull, like the inside?
Oh, that's a good pull. Yeah,
I thought it did.
Yeah,
like the white sort of marbly halls. But she immediately, like, she makes no bones about being straight up evil.
No, not at all.
Oh,
I like that. Straight ahead evil.
Come with me into a second location, little girl. Come into my chamber of heads.
Oh, that was so good. That was so scary.
Oh my god.
She didn't even try to explain it either. She's just like,
I think I'll try number 4 today. And then there's like, I had questions about that too, because later Jack Pumpkin says she had head 22 on when she put me up here, and she must not have worn head 22 again because she doesn't remember I'm here. Yeah. So how does that work? Do they have to have a team meeting every night?
Well, that's also Jack Pumpkinhead's theory.
I'd imagine it'd only be once a week since there's so little going on in Oz at that point.
I'd be like, okay, Head 22, what did you get up to today while you were wearing the body? Oh, I played the lute. and I fashioned some more metal things to stick out of the back of my robe.
So do you think they all have varying lute abilities? And they're all like in a competition to see who
does the best lute?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the body's like, I'm the one who plays the lute. Why do they get all the credit?
And the wheelers are like the judges.
Yes. So she's got all these heads in their glass cases, and she's like,
they're all pretty mellow.
Yeah,
they're all just
they
chilling.
seem fine with it,
right.
which I don't think they should be. But she's like, you know what? I think you will be. Well, you're not going to be pretty when you get older, but no, I'll take a head where I can get a head. And she's like, I'll just lock you in the tower and cut your head off.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, and she predicted she would be not beautiful but interesting looking, and that was actually a pretty good assessment because I would say that was a pretty good assessment of what Veruza looks like when she grew older.
Yeah, and then so that's where this is the attic.
Yeah,
where
we spend a lot of time in.
Yes, she meets Jack Pumpkin, who is Jack Skellington.
Yes.
So clearly.
Clearly. Well, I think what Tim Burton was working for Disney at this time. He was an animator, wasn't he? I think that's where he was. I think he was an animator on Fox and the Hound. So he was, in the building.
And he's just like, file that away.
Right, exactly.
I'll use that later. And she builds the sofa mousse.
Yes,
right, the gump. With powdered life.
Which she has to steal from the original head, which is, of course, the Willow Queen.
Yeah. Bavmorda.
Bavmorda. Keeps her own head in a cupboard without a glass window. Which is like, you know what? Is this movie really about body image?
I think so.
Is it?
I think that. Yeah, it's about cosmetic surgery,
before
really.
Its time.
Because she has, because all the heads are younger.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with ladies. You got to get a younger head every couple of years.
And it's just, why do we have to work so hard?
Right.
And y'all are just allowed to be mountains that talk.
Life goal. Talking mountain.
So she steals powder of life and brings to life the sofa, and they fly away.
Yeah, no, without Dorothy Gale.
Oh my God,
great.
that's the scariest part.
To me, watching it now, the scariest part to me was listening to her snore. Because that's a woman without a head snoring, and I'm like,
it's really
the more you think about it, the creepier that is.
It's the neck hole.
It's the neck hole.
No.
And they like went to the sound guy and went, hey, we got an interesting challenge for you.
We got a fun note. We have to figure out what neck hole snoring would sound like. But that part where the headless body is grabbing her and the other head screaming, I'm like, nope. No.
Nope. So much nope.
I need to get out of here. And then they
fly.
So then what happens next? They fly and
the
they
wheelers
crash.
are chasing them. And
then she sleeps, and then the whole couch falls apart.
Yep. And
they happen to land where the bad guy lives.
Yeah, they land on him, right? Because he is the mountain. Did I get that right?
Well,
I might have been looking at my phone at this moment.
I think the gnomes are sort of like they live in the rocks.
They live in the rocks,
yes.
And they're of the rocks.
Yes. But I don't think they're actually I don't think he is the mountain. I think he's just like a creature that's sort of like a fish is in water. They're in the rock.
So the gnome king is our big bad guy.
Yes.
He's the final boss.
He really hasn't gotten much screen time. We've kind of seen his minions kind of like report to him.
Yes.
But he's the dude that's basically devastated Oz.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's taken over.
Yeah. All the magic and emeralds are gone. Everyone's turned to stone.
Because they were his emeralds. Mm-hmm. Says him.
Yeah.
And he likes precious jewels and stones.
Yeah. I thought that was great when she's falling through and saying, oh, you have so much. Well, that's not the point. It's like, I should have it all.
It's interesting. It's like usually the villains are, they never get this far. And Dorothy comes to Oz, and basically it's been now reduced to just two villains who have a lot of time on their hands because they've been successwell.
And they don't really want to hang out with each other.
No, not at all. And they're also very different, we have actually, depending on the head she's wearing, she can be very strident and crazy stuff too, and he's just very calm about everything. Like, I've already won.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm just going to screw around with these people for a while because
I think what they
Like,
just
do you think they share
secret.
custody of the Wheelers like every other week? It's like, it's your week with the Wheelers.
I think it's more like, get these things out of my mountain. Because I mean, they did make a tunnel. So they could have been going back and forth.
I think these villains just wanted lots more free time.
Yeah,
And they got it.
they did. They're living their best life. They're playing the lute,
Hey, they're like
being a mountain.
He's retired, clearly. Like, this
he
is
just
him in
wants
his
to look at
retirement.
his ornaments.
Right.
That's all. You acquire these things so
Yeah.
you can appreciate their beauty.
Right.
But so he challenges
That's like
Dorothy
his Funko collection.
and his Funko collection of transmorgified people.
Well, sure. Do we know that's not what Funko are?
Yes, we do know that.
Oh, okay, good. All right, just checking.
and
Just
now
checking.
I'm
I didn't have that in my
wondering.
notes, so I just wanted to verify that.
Each one contains a little piece of the soul of whoever it's embodying.
Poor Chris Evans.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. But he is like a Horcrux now. He can never die.
Yay.
So he challenges them to a contest.
Mm-hmm.
He has the Scarecrow, and he says they can one by one try to guess which object he has turned the Scarecrow into, and if they're right, they can walk on out of there, and if they're wrong, they too get turned into objects.
Yeah, and it's so scary because everyone goes off and we stay with Dorothy, so we see each of her friend one by one go off, and we hear that they have failed. And every time they've failed, he becomes more human, and it gets creepier and creepier.
That's the scariest part.
Yeah.
This whole movie was me just going, that's the scariest part. And then something else happens. No. That's the scariest part. Oh, but so this whole time, she has put Bellina the chicken, inside of Jack Pumpkinhead's pumpkin head.
Yes, because
It's-
she
it's-
doesn't know why they're freaked out about the chicken, but she knows they are.
They don't like the chicken.
They don't like
Right.
the chicken.
So, everybody guesses wrong. But don't you think that when Jack Pumpkinhead guessed wrong, like, there should have been a chicken running around in that room? Because the chicken should guess 3 times, too.
I would agree.
Come on, guys.
Maybe she did, and she just also got it wrong.
Maybe.
TikTok, very brilliantly, has a ruse.
His thinking dial was wound up nice and
Yeah,
tight.
he pretended to power down, so she goes in, and then they hatch a plan to coordinate. And Dorothy quickly forgot to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did not work out.
Like, how about we clear off this table and just have one thing, right? But I think, I took it as the Gnome King actually like anticipated that because I sort of watched it again and
Yeah,
watched that table.
he is a
and
good
there's-
villain.
There's nothing green on that table.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a solid, confident
Yeah.
villain.
You can see why he took over.
Yeah.
And he's like, but he wants to become, somehow turning the people into ornaments makes him more human.
Yes.
And that's what he wants.
And it must
that
be
way, yeah.
temporary because he starts off very, very rocky, and it only takes like 3 or 4 people.
Souls.
Yeah, and there must have been tons more souls in there,
Yeah.
potentially.
That's interesting. I would like to know more about that spell too.
Yeah.
Because it's like you turn everybody to stone. If you could do this and you wanted that, why wouldn't you have made this offer to the Tin Man and
Yeah.
the Cowardly Lion and
Yeah.
because
You could-
he doesn't say
you
turning
could be
back
8
into
humans
a human
by now.
Right.
And also, nope, it's gone.
Okay.
So I
right
found
over
this whole sequence super, super scary too.
Yeah.
And and again, it's not melodramatic. It's like well lit. The
Yeah.
whole set almost reminds me of like
very little
Labyrinth?
music.
like something like a Kubrick
Labyrinth, yeah.
scene.
Yeah, very Labyrinth. I could see that.
Labyrinth or like Kubrick, and it's just kind of like this white, soft light.
Yeah.
Very stark.
Very stark and innocent, and just kind of just the idea that you only get 3 choices to pick these objects, and if you fail, then you become one of the objects.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing except
There's
for
no
the thing that we
hint.
learned.
There's no
No.
guidance.
Yeah, it's not like TikTok turned into a clock or
It's not like this is the cup of a carpenter.
Yeah.
which is what you want it to be. You want to be able to have some kind of edge, which eventually we learn on Dorothy's very last choice.
Yeah.
All the objects from Oz are green.
Yeah.
There you go. Solved it.
Yeah.
Solved it.
And it causes his spell to reverse, and so suddenly he starts becoming less human along the way.
Yeah, and he's like, damn it backfired.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops, didn't think this one through. Oh, he looks like Jolly Good King Wenceslas. Like, don't you look? He has like a
like the German Santa Claus.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, this is where we also find out that he had the ruby slippers after Dorothy lost him. He's the guy that got him back.
See, so progressive.
Right.
He's wearing them.
That's true, and that's what allowed him to do it. So in a way, Dorothy is responsible for this coup.
Yes, yeah. Lay
She
that
couldn't
at her
keep
doorstep
That's
for
right.
sure.
She couldn't keep her toes curled.
Look, it's really hard to keep a pair of heels on. Okay? They hurt. And then you think that it's the end, bippity boppity boo, everybody's restored.
Yeah.
Except TikTok.
Do the women get their heads back? Is that
They do. There's a shot.
Yeah. We see them later on.
Yeah.
As like
when they do everybody turning
when
back.
Bev Morda is in prison. They're the women around her that are explaining what happened.
Yeah, but they're also in the montage of everybody coming back to life, being turned back from stone. All of a sudden, they cut to a shot of all of the dancing girls in the circle, and like boom, and they're all that, and they finish their move.
Which would have been creepy.
If they had
had no heads.
Yeah.
And then eventually they become weeping angels, is my understanding.
But that's the fourth one.
Yeah. We didn't get there because this one was
Revenge
not
of
well
Oz.
received.
Too soon.
Yes, revenge. And then like everything's fine, and everybody's just like,
Oh yeah,
but-
we forgot to bring up
Yeah.
the Gnome King severe
Yes,
egg allergy.
That's right.
oh right,
Yeah.
So when they,
It kind of sucks that both the Wizard of Oz movies have this unexplained magical surprise. The villains have these weaknesses.
Yeah.
Oh my God, water! What?
At least they teased this one.
Yeah.
Because as soon as Dorothy lands, the gnome spy does not want to tell his boss this information. They have a chicken. And so we don't know what that means, but then eventually it leads to somewhere. The water thing literally comes out of nowhere.
No.
they're like, they get to the end of that story and they're like, shoot.
Like,
now we
yeah.
gotta go.
Yeah.
What can
Well, the
we
thing
do?
that was terrifying about that is that it was Dorothy that melted this person.
Yeah, she did it.
And with this, it's just kind of like, oh, here's the Deus Ex Machina, the thing that just magically
Deus
solves.
Egg Machina. I'll see myself out.
Okay. We'll wait.
But it's like, it's very lucky because he's tipping Jack Pumpkinhead, gonna eat him, and then Belinda falls out butt first and like finally lays the egg that she's been like.
Yeah, it rolls around inside of his head and then
Yeah.
drops down. Yeah, I just love
Gross.
that. Every time someone says poison, I always think of poison.
Eggs are poison.
Poison to gnomes.
And then he just
Just
dies.
falls away, yeah.
He's a
And
rock
then all
now.
the spells, that he had been holding onto with the shoes.
Undone.
Because he didn't have an EpiPen.
The Gnome King and Jason Mantzoukas are allergic to eggs. But
Jason Mantzoukas
And
is
then
a
as
gnome.
soon as everyone is saved, like Dorothy wants to get the F out of there. Like in both movies.
why?
Here's my theory.
Okay, please give me a theory.
Okay,
She's
here's my
always
theory.
bothered me.
Like a lot of people, I don't think I think she only likes to use the bathroom at home. I don't think she likes using it when she's out
She's a
and
shy
about.
pooper. Okay.
Yeah.
All
She
right.
hasn't pooped the whole time they've been
No,
around.
and she just wants to go home and use the bathroom.
Okay.
She's like, look, it's worth the electroshock therapy.
That is the
Right.
best theory I've
Look,
heard. It's the
real
only theory I've heard, but
real
it's the
people
best.
I know have that problem, not myself. But
Are you
I can
an
I can
anywhere
imagine
pooper?
under that
Will
kind
you
of
poop anywhere?
I'm in the middle.
But yeah, that was about like I understand why Alice wants to leave Wonderland because Wonderland is a nightmare.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
nothing makes any sense. Like something terrible is going to happen while you stay. But Oz is kind of awesome.
Yeah,
so I never understand why Dorothy has to leave.
And it's like once,
Gotta go.
yeah, everything's been solved, and now
Yeah.
everything is great. I mean, she can get like a great place for a weekend.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, she
In the
saves
Emerald
Princess
City.
Ozma.
Right. As Princess Ozma comes out of the mirror, she wants to be in two places at once. I don't know how that spell was translated into. That means I want to free the princess. But okay, queen? Is she queen? I think she's queen.
But then, so she could stay and just be like the assistant to the Queen of
Sure.
Oz.
She could be the Lord Protector of Oz, whatever she
So
wanted.
what was it? So Ozma was...
I'm going to go back to the people who will try to electroshock me. That's
Yeah.
clearly the message I want to go.
I want to go back to Depression era
Yeah.
Kansas.
Guys, I've got to get back to Depression era Kansas. So wait, Ozma was a child
Yes.
even when the wizard of the Wizard of Oz was in charge.
Yes.
And so what did he do with this little girl?
I think that had already happened before. I mean, like, there's a lot of exposition that happens very quickly at the end. I got the impression that she was already in the mirror or out of the picture before he showed up. And so they were sort of like leaderless. And as we know, people in Oz are not really good at
Well, they were
picking
going to make
leaders
the
or following them.
Scarecrow king.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Yeah. There's a power vacuum. That's when
Yeah.
the wizard showed up. As we'll find out in the sequel, Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible movie.
It sure is.
I say that's as much as this was a colossal failure for Disney and put Walter in movie jail, which he still resides in. He never
At least
made,
director
he ne-
jail.
Director jail. That's true. He never directed a movie again. Yeah. They went back to Oz again and tried to do it, and it was terrible.
They were like,
I
you know
like
what,
this
that
movie
one was
way
missing?
more than
James
that one.
Franco. It's a
TikTok.
good movie.
It was missing
like-
TikTok.
What's that?
It was missing TikTok.
TikTok.
Let's just go from a laugh. And we're back.
So Christopher Lloyd and Tim Curry were both considered to play the Gnome King.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we need to think about this movie would have been successful in either of them in that role.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I think it would have been a better movie. I don't know if it would have been more successful because either of those guys are great. I don't know if they would have translated to butts in seats.
Oh, yeah. And then
But maybe
Tim Curry and Feruza Balk were in The Worst Witch.
See, it happened. So the universe wanted
They
them
got 'em
together.
together.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of The Worst Witch?
That was a
Yes.
TV movie,
I have
right?
not seen it.
Oh, yeah. It is like, oh, my God, this is like Harry Potter.
But with a girl, no, get it out of here. And then for the Princess Mombi, Mary Steenburgen and Terry Garr were
Okay.
both
Oh, man, the
considered.
80s.
Yeah.
I know, but can you Terry Garr would have been, and Mary Steenburgen, they both would have been really scary,
Yeah.
because they would have also been able to be sweet. Like the woman who plays Bavmorda has no sweetness
Jean
in
Marsh.
her
Jean
Marsh,
face. Like she was born to play mean people. Like she invented resting bitch face, and like. And I don't mean that as a negative. Like she's a beautiful woman, but she does not. There's no kindness in that face. I'm sure she's a very nice person, but you couldn't tell it by looking. If you threw in a Terry Garr or a Mary Steenburgen,
Virgin.
Danson, they would have
Hyphen dancing.
like had the two-facedness of being able to
Would have
seem
been-
kind.
Yes, the twist would have been much more of a surprise.
Yeah,
You
than
know,
just
because
like-
they have kindly faces.
Yeah. Anyway, and then they wanted Don Knotts to be the voice of Bellina,
Oh, okay.
and they wanted Dick Van Dyke to be the voice of either Pumpkinhead or the Scarecrow. Which all of those things changed this movie 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think that
maybe not 100%.
there was a regime change, I think, midway through production, and so I think they were like, we're not getting any of those people.
We don't have Dick Van Dyke money.
Yeah, exactly. Like the guy who's doing the puppeteering, Brian Henson, just have him do the voice.
You're
He's
the
already
pumpkin.
there.
You're the pumpkin
He's
now.
just you're the pumpkin now.
It's a complicated, troubling movie.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of issues.
Yeah.
What do you think could have made it more successful? I feel like the biggest issue is adapting a direct sequel, but from the source of the book.
Yeah.
I think the expectations of not having the color, of not having the songs, or at least a song,
Yeah.
or that is the single biggest factor that made it unsuccessful.
I think having Disney put it out was a strike against them. I mean, especially this time, Disney was ice cold. I mean, like Disney could not find a hit, with the fans and a flashlight. So I think if another company had come out with this, I think it would have been more hailed like Labyrinth is, or Dark Crystal, like
Right.
ooh, it's visionary, it's elaborate stuff, but they're like, it came from Disney, and so people expected something from Disney.
The Disney feel, yeah.
The Disney feel, exactly, which this does not have at all. Like the fact that the Disney logo is in front of it always seems weird because like there's nothing in it. And also Disney like does not acknowledge the existence of this movie. Like the first time it ever came out, the first time it ever came out on DVD, Anchor Bay put it out because Disney was like, we're not touching that. Like you can't find merchandise, you can't find, and Disney are selling merchandise based on the packaging of old Disney movies now. They'll sell anything, and you can't find a pin about Return to Oz. Like it's basically like this.
If you mention it, they take you to Disney jail.
You can buy Song of the South stuff from them, but you can't find any Return to Oz stuff. So it's one of those things they just completely go away. I think title. I mean, I really think Return to Oz set people up for a sequel that this wasn't. This was
this
sequel,
is a direct continuation.
Right, exactly. Like you're going to see the new Judy Garland. You're going to see the new Burt Lahr.
Yeah, I think they should have had. Yeah, definitely. And you're not getting any of those things. If the trailer had been like, look, this isn't a sequel to The Return of Oz.
In Oz like you've never seen before.
This is for the people who read the books.
Which they could have done in trailers like that.
Yes.
They could have done it. They could have been like, look, this is not what you think it's going to be.
Just slow your roll, dude.
Just have it be
beyond
like,
imagination.
do you want a movie with a headless moose that's a couch,
With no songs.
a rock that's allergic to eggs,
People getting turned into sand.
a lady who's got a whole bunch of heads that aren't hers? Like,
And electrotherapy. On children.
if you want to know what it's like to want to return to Depression-era Kansas, spend some time in the magical land of Oz. But this movie did not do as badly as some of the other movies that we've done. In 1985, it was in the top 100. It came in 74th.
Okay.
Which is actually not that bad compared to some of the...
It's less terrible.
Right. and so we've done 2 of the top 3 movies in 1985. Back to the Future is number 1, which we haven't done yet. But we have done Rambo First Blood Part 2, which is 2, and Rocky 4, which is 3. The Jewel of the Nile is number 7. The Goonies is number 9.
Goonies never say die.
Breakfast Club is 16. Pee-wee is 19. E.T. is 21.
This is some hot list action right here.
But E.T. was the re-release. Because it was number 1 the year it did come out.
Sure you don't want to talk more about E.T.? I know you have some feelings. So on your trauma scale, E.T. being the most traumatic, where does Return to Oz fall?
From pure joy to E.T.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't remember this I didn't remember this movie well enough for it to scare me in that same way. Like I didn't wake it up at night like Wheelers, You
will now.
I will now.
What movies do you do that with?
Yeah.
E.T. Yeah. Pulsating head, telescoping neck. No, get it out of here.
This would be an interesting topic of conversation.
Mom, you were screaming in your sleep.
Maybe I was a weird kid, obviously, but like nothing in this movie scared me, even when I saw it. There was movies that came out that I had the same reaction to E.T. too. Like I still have I think about him lying in the sewer when he's all like pale and freaks me out. But like nothing in this movie really affected me at all. I think that when people talk about is this an appropriate family film, it's like. Okay, well, there are weird kids out there.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is this like mainstream entertainment? No.
Only when you've identified your kid as weird.
Well,
yes, you show
absolutely.
them this
right.
movie.
I have 2 kids. One of them will see this, and one of them will not.
Yeah. Right. If they like Coraline, they won't be freaked out by this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that
it is kind of slow.
It is slow, yeah, absolutely. Sure. I mean, it has a definitely different pace to it. But for the kids who are going to watch Edward Scissorhands, and I mean, like this is right in that same thing, and it's in that.
If you like Labyrinth, I think you'll like this.
Right. This is this is the time that when with Goonies and things where kids could go off and have adventures on their own. Like now. being a parent, I was like, I can't imagine. Like, I watch all these things, and I'm like, that's the age of my kid. Like, I don't even let her in the backyard without knowing all this stuff. And these kids are like going off and finding pirate ships, or flying off into space, or heading to Oz, and they're that same age. And it's like,
or running from headless women.
Yeah, or or going into the Upside Down.
Every coming of age story is running from a headless woman that is the future. So, do you think that this movie would stand up well to a remake, a reboot of this story?
It can only get better.
And if so, like, who would you put in it?
I don't know children actors.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know kid actors. I would guess. I would say Millie Bobby Brown. There you go.
I mean, I think it would do well if she
Yes.
was Dorothy.
Yep.
I was thinking Lady Mormont, the young girl actress.
Oh yeah,
from Game
yeah.
of Thrones.
That's a good one. Yeah.
She'd be good.
And then you could they would, of course, they do the Pixar thing, and they do an all-star voice cast for all of them. So it'd just be like, Ellen Tudyk is,
everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so on a scale of 1,
Egg.
I would still cast Mary Steenburgen.
yeah, put her in there.
Put her in there.
Toss her in.
Yeah.
She's only
She'd be
gotten
great.
scarier.
How? Not what I.
And the Gnome King is Ted Danson.
And the Gnome King's Ted Danson. Oh my gosh.
That'd be great.
Call
No, the
Hollywood.
Gnome King is Jason Mantzoukas.
Oh yeah, he doesn't even have to shave.
Yeah. He's just like, guys,
Yeah.
I'm the Gnome King.
Okay.
Deathly allergic to eggs.
Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go in the other room. You're gonna pick something that you think is pretty. You're gonna touch it.
Don't even think about touching a fourth thing. Guys, we all do Jason Mantzoukas impressions. Who knew? Jason, if you're listening,
We love you.
we love you.
Please return our calls.
You're not listening.
He's shooting John Wick 4. He can't hear us.
On a scale of
They're
1
still
egg to
shooting them? I
10
thought
eggs, how many eggs do you give Return to Oz?
How many eggs? What is the? Is it a dozen? Is it
10 being...
What, wouldn't it be a dozen if they're eggs?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But
From
no.
1 egg to a dozen eggs.
But no.
Well, we're not going to get there anyway. So,
This is not an egg-centric podcast.
what is your rating?
Excellent.
I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 5. I gave it a 6 when I was watching it, and then just kind of like how you think about it the day after, whether it was a positive or negative experience. I think I'm gonna have to give it a very middle of the roady 5.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot of invention, and I'm super supportive of like Walter Murch, but it's just off tone. In terms of I think there's a lot there's so much to like, but it I don't feel like it totally holds up.
All right. Very good. Very analytical. What do you think, Kyle?
10 eggs.
10
I cannot take off my glasses of nostalgia. I watched it again. It's still one of my favorite movies. Like I like it better when I divest it from when it came out, who put it out, connection to the other movies, and just see it as its own thing, as a weird adventure of like this girl and this strange world. And I love it. I still love it.
You know, there really aren't enough movies where couches are a character.
Yeah.
There really aren't enough.
Not enough
what about-
representation.
And what about you?
I think I will give it a 6 because I liked it. I do think it's weird and that it's great for weird kids. And I love Fairuza Balk in it. And it's very comforting to me to see Jack Skellington, a live-action Jack Skellington. But to me, it wasn't fun to watch. Like, I think what would have bumped it up to a 7 would have been more laughing. Something that, you know, a couple laughs or just something that I saw as being fun.
Yeah. What I wouldn't want is like songs. You know, I wouldn't want
The Disney animated musical version of it.
yeah, that's what I wouldn't want.
Yeah, the dark and the weird is, I think, what makes it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Tim Burton had directed this,
Yeah, I think it would have been
Yeah?
more successful.
Okay.
I think there's just some missing ingredient that doesn't take this to Labyrinth cult status territory, Dark Crystal territory.
There's just less joy, I feel.
Yeah.
In it, you know.
But I did really like that they had a girl of the appropriate age
Right.
playing Dorothy. That changes the way you look at it when it's not an adult woman who's like hopped up on goofballs, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Like, how old was Judy Garland?
I think she was 18
18.
when she shot. I don't know what she
Yeah.
was playing, but I think the actress was at the time was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Cruise, I think, was 10?
Yeah. And she's so good.
She's so good. Still so good. When you do your most radical 90s podcast and you talk about The Craft.
Oh,
happy to
yeah.
come back and talk
my
about that.
God,
She's
I
so
love
great in
The
that
Craft.
movie.
Yeah, me too.
Such a great movie.
Into The Craft. Speaking of The Craft, what is your deep cut recommendation?
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, my deep cut recommendation is a movie that also came out this same year. It's called Explorers. It's a boys on bikes movie, which is the genre of like. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. Like, very rarely do they actually have a girl show up in these things. So, like, that was what awesome about Goonies. But Explorers is about three guys just doing 80s kid stuff too, and then they get a message from space that gives them instructions on how to build a spaceship. And so they build one, and they end up meeting up with aliens who are not at all what they expected them to be, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, it came out this exact same year, and it's one of the other deep cut, fun, weird 80s movies.
Who's in it?
Ethan Hawke.
Yes,
River
that's
Phoenix.
why- yes,
and
that's why I know it.
another guy. I can't remember who. The other
River
guy
Phoenix, that's
who
why I
didn't go on
remember
to
it,
have
yeah.
a big career.
That's a
And
good
the
one.
rest.
Yeah, and the rest. Yeah.
What about you, Nathan?
So my deep cut recommendation is Walter Murch related. So like in the world of editing and especially sound design, he really is kind of like a master and a guru. That's why it kind of pains me that that he never directed again.
Yeah.
But so he's got an excellent book called In the Blink of an Eye, and it's probably the best book on editing. I've only read one book, but this is like I hear
But it was
over
the
and over
best
again.
one.
Yeah, just in talking about like the psychology of editing. It's not technical at all. It's talking about like how in terms of editing, like what is the priority of a cut, like performance and emotion. There's eye scan, there's continuity, there's all the different things that make a cut work. And one of the things I loved about it was he's talking about how he noticed that all of his cuts would happen just moments before the actor blinks. And he realized that when people talk, when they when they end a thought or change a thought, they actually blink. And he noticed that in terms of the editing, he would cut to those actors' performances, and it would happen. The cut would happen right before the actor would blink, and that kind of thought or emotion had ended.
Wow.
Wow.
So
I tell you, editors are the real wizards of the thing. Like, I understand writing. I've written scripts. I understand directing. I've directed actors. But having to actually edit stuff down, it is astounding. Like, the power of the edit. Like, I didn't understand it until I actually did it. And then I went back and was like, this is where the secret power of movies is. It's in editing.
Well, then, how do you explain how this movie should have been edited tighter?
Well, I
don't think it was the problem with the editing.
Yeah, I feel like the pace and style was deliberate. It was just. I feel like the movies that he himself gravitates to are much more adult,
meandering,
rather than like a fast fantasy adventure.
Like you were talking about at the beginning, like the 70s thing where they sort of just would let things play a little longer, as opposed to the what we're getting into at this time period, where the style of the day is the MTV style.
We don't have time for this.
Where they're gonna just like every 2 seconds cut. Like he's still
like way less Explorers and more kind of like. Again, like the stuff you'd see in the 70s.
They're like a Dog Day Afternoon kind of thing, where they just
set the camera up and let it play. Robert Altman, or like even the photography felt like it was from the 70s.
Yes, which did not necessarily serve the story that they were trying to do, and especially that's why Disney was like, "What is this?"
It's like it almost reminded me like the Kansas sequences almost reminded me of like. High Plains Drifter or McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Yeah,
and
the wide angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing the horizon. Yeah. Did we get too
Chrissy?
film dirty for you?
What? I'm sorry, I drifted off. Sorry.
Just like in the movie.
Very in character though with your recommendations. So mine is, and I completely got the name of it wrong. I thought it was called something like Paradise Lost, but it is called Lost Soul: The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yes.
So I'm doing a Firuza Balk.
Yes,
Deep
that's
cut.
a great recommendation. That thing is amazing.
It is an amazing documentary.
Yeah, I just saw that a couple months ago.
About the movie, The Island of Dr. About the making of
Yes.
the movie, The Island of Dr. Moreau, that has Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer, and Firuza Balk is in it.
Yeah.
And this, I don't want to give anything away. But you need to watch it.
Oh my God, it's so good.
And the story that Firuza Balk tells in particular about trying to run away. Like, she was like, I need to not be here. Forget my contract. I do not care if I never work again. I cannot be here anymore. And she tried to escape the movie and couldn't.
Yeah. She could not escape the
Oh, the great story that the director was fired and then but stayed on set in costume as a creature.
That's right. Back in as an extra.
Without anyone knowing.
It's too much. So that's my recommendation. I'll take
That's
any
a great
excuse to
recommendation.
recommend that to people.
Yeah, watch the 1995. Is that when that movie came out? The Island of Dr. Moreau, and then watch the documentary because it's brilliant. Like, it's just
the origin of Mini Me, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I can't even tell you.
David
1996.
1996. Okay,
The
I was
things
close.
you will learn
Yes.
in this will make it
About life.
about
Filmmaking.
life. Like, it will just
About
and it will,
overacting.
It'll make it impossible for you to ever look at Val Kilmer the same way again.
Absolutely.
No matter how much you like Tombstone. Okay, so that's everything. Is there anything we forgot? No?
We could talk about this movie for another hour as far as I'm concerned, but I think we've pretty much covered, I think, all the highlights.
Where?
Everyone go watch Return to Oz.
Oh my God, yes. Do it, and then let us know.
Yes.
Let us know if we got it right. Let
Put it
us
in the
know what we
comments.
missed. Let us know what you thought. Where can people find all of your various pods and projects?
Let's not in one place, unfortunately. So I had you introduce me as a writer, and that is what I am. I have a podcast called The Monday Matinee. We are a fiction anthology podcast. I kind of run it like the BBC, where I take one idea and I let it run for a couple episodes, as opposed to Twilight Zone style, where it's one and done. Our big hit is the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society.
Yay!
Which Chrissy has been a voice on.
I love it.
It's about a married lesbian couple in 1900s France fighting evil and being in love, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So you can search for that, or you can search for Monday Matinee.
They're pretty great.
That'll be on there too. So you can find us on Twitter at Ox and Hare. It's very seldom updated there, but search all your podcatchers for Monday Matinee or Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society, and you'll find us there. Great.
Excellent.
And you, Chrissy?
I can be found at National Comedy Theater every Friday and Saturday night, and at nctphoenix.com. And our other pods and projects can be found at mostexcellentpod.com.
And I'm at squishystudios.com. Thank you.
But please rate, review, thumbs up, tell a friend, tell an enemy. It really helps us out. It's not just something people are obligated to say at the end of podcasts. It's really true.
We need it.
We need it. Give us a review, whatever it is.
Some stars. 5 is my favorite number of stars.
It is. Well, it's like there's this weird thing where, in terms of stars, it's either 1 or 5.
Yes.
Nothing in between matters.
No, and Apple only cares about either 5 or 1.
That's exactly right. It's like, why
either
do we
elevate
have
you or
3
bury
stars? What is the poor third star is just like, hey guys.
That being said, we'd be happy with 3 stars if you give it to us, but
No, we would not.
5 is better.
5 or nothing.
I'll be your best friend for 5 stars.
I will be your best friend for 5 stars. As long as that doesn't include having to go places. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. We do appreciate it. And while you're out there in the world, remember to be excellent to each other. And Eog.
Weog.
Piog.
That's from the movie.